AlienPhotog dog, he likes to smell aliens, or likes to smell aliens. I'll translate for a little bit till you guys get his language. You know, everybody around the house knows it, but you guys don't yet. My wife's going to think it's so ridiculous I'm telling everybody about this. But whatever. She thinks everything I do is ridiculous. She loves me, though, and hangs with me. God bless her. But anyway, that's a little bit more about the dog. And then he went on Ralph, back to Ralph, the guy who wrote the email. He said, well, anyway, it wouldn't be a mail from me without some criticism, right? Which is Ralph, and it's great. He comes with constructive criticism, and then he listens to the answer, too. But he says, a question, Credo Mutwa, he spelled it Credomutwa, I'm assuming that's a person, I've never heard of him, said that the gray skin is actually a skin-tight uniform. And back on the AlienPhotog Radio Show, great song there. Kurt, I got friends in my head, too. It's okay, buddy. Consoling a dead guy. I actually talk to dead people too. I am psychic in the sense that I can talk to dead people. Never had a chat with Kurt Cobain though. I really don't do a lot of that. It gets a little strange after a while. But anyway, great song by Kurt Cobain. His stuff is literally, I think, on the same level as Shakespeare on many levels, and I say that with all sincerity. And we'll break down some of it and try to understand what Kurt was trying to tell us. He's a difficult one, though. Anyway, full moon tonight, or almost full moon. We've got a little bit of cloud cover where I'm at this point. Probably chemtrail cover. Almost certainly chemtrail cover, actually, judging by earlier today. It was a little ridiculous. And speaking of that, I want to remind you that next week we've got Chris Ritter on the show. Chris Ritter of the band Crash out of Denver, Colorado. Another local guy, and he wants to talk about chemtrails. And I do, too, because they've been absolutely absurd in our area lately. Almost nonstop. Almost a daily thing. They really have been. I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but it's something he is very interested in and passionate about. And I'm interested to hear Chris's new music with his band Crash. But Chris was a pioneer of punk rock in the 1980s, and to talk to Chris some, and hopefully we'll get our issues figured out here so we can have him on the show next week. I'm sure we'll get something figured out. All right, time to go to the AlienPhotog mailbag, which is always quite full. Like I said, email me, guys, alienphotog@gmail.com. I always pick an email or two every week that I read from the Space Chickens and answer people's questions about aliens towards the end of the show. And this week I'm going to answer an email from Space Chicken Ralph. I love Space Chicken Ralph. Space Chicken Ralph is, I get some people who do not believe me. I don't get much of it anymore. But usually what I get from them is complete nonsense, and they'll ask questions and not want to hear the answer. And Ralph has asked some very, very good questions. Ralph is very observant. And I really like that about him. And Ralph has emailed me many times with questions asking simply this, that, or the other thing. And every time I answer him, Ralph listens to the answers completely, and he takes them in, he makes his own decision, and usually comes down saying it sounds fairly reasonable. But I like Ralph. I like Ralph's feedback, and I do like constructive criticism. So anyway, please email me, guys, alienphotog@gmail.com. If you've ever had experiences with this, or if you're just curious or want to make a new friend who likes to talk about aliens, I'm here for you guys. I like making new friends and meeting people from all over the world. It's something I've just started doing this last couple months. And like I said, I got emails from Egypt and the North Pole yesterday, the day before, something like that. It's all blurred together. But I think that's cool, and I love meeting you guys. So go check out our website, www.ufozone.ning.com. If you're still on live, go check it out. There'll still be some people on there at this point without question. Go talk to them and come talk to me there. Anyway, I'll skip ahead a little bit, but Ralph is glad that I lost the gargly voice, and I am too. It feels good to be using my regular voice. It genuinely does. It was kind of a big step for me because, as you know, I like to stay anonymous because I want to keep this normal for my family as much as possible. And being a celebrity is something I've never aspired to be, and I hope to be able to keep my anonymity. But Ralph says, take your time when you speak of actual incidents. Do not assume we have any idea what you're talking about and give better details. The story about the dog sniffing at the invisible aliens still isn't clear in my mind, and I wouldn't have any idea what you were describing if Mrs. Cruz hadn't asked you to clarify a little bit. And she did. That was very nice of her to do, by the way. I need to have her on the show with me because I tend to jump around from topic to topic, but that's good, somebody to kind of ask me for details. And the reason I do that is there's just so much to say, and he's right, I do need to slow down and just tell things one thing at a time. Seems as though this will be something that's around for a while and maybe even expand, and So let me expand a little bit on the story about my dog and the aliens, as he calls them. He doesn't really say that. We say it for him. You guys probably had that. That's that lack of a sense of humor thing I was talking about. Moving forward. Yeah, the dog, the poor guy, he can smell them. I believe that's how he can sense them. And they've certainly indicated to me many times that the dog is a major concern of theirs. They want me to put the dog, we have a kennel for the dog, and they're very clear to me. I tried to leave the dog out one night because I was just, trying to be nicer to the dog. I was kind of surly and grumpy there for a while when I went through my awakening process, and then realized the dog's pretty cool. And tried to let him sleep out one night, and they're like, no, don't do that. We're going to have a problem. And this is actually, apparently, the exact same happened to Dr. Jonathan Reed, who had issues with his dog. But they don't like dogs, and I think it's because dogs can smell them. My dog can certainly sense them, whether it's on a vibrational level or whether he can smell them or physically see them, I'm not sure. But I watched closely one night as I knew they were around. I can always sense that they're around. Rarely when I'm conscious can I see them. It's usually I'm taken in my sleep. I wake up in my bed, the comforter is upside down or something weird like that. Sometimes it's impossible to know whether I've been taken or not. And I'll ask for verification and I'll get my answer at that point. But yeah, the dog can sense them. Sometimes I just know they're around. And I don't know where they are, and the dog walked into my room. I had the door shut in my bedroom, and I was on the computer doing some writing, because it's something I like to do, writing on a book that I'm working on while I'm in the state, because interesting things come out. But the dog just pushes the door open with his nose, which sometimes he's able to do if I don't shut the door tight. And he just pushes the door wide open and just looks at me. We've got this dog who's like another person in the family. It's kind of bizarre. I've never had a dog quite like him before, and I wasn't quite ready for that sort of intrusion on our personal lives, to be honest. So I was a little offended by him sometimes. I'm a relatively private person, or certainly was there for a while during my awakening process, and it sort of irritated me. I mean, the dog, he comes up and he talks to you, not like I talk for him, but he'll sit there and roar, 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 and sit there and try to have a conversation with you. It's hilarious. But the dog pushes the door open, and he's just looking at me, and of course he's got this look on his face like, ruh-roh, aliens. And he walks in the room, and he starts sniffing, and he walks directly, I'm sitting up near the head of the bed, up near the pillows, and he walks directly to the end and puts his nose up and sort of sniffs right at the end of the bed, as though, it seemed as though the alien, I don't know if it got up on the bed to try to get away from the dog, or if it was sitting on the edge of the bed with his legs draped over. But he walked right up to it and sort of sniffed at it, and then took a step back and looked at it again. And he can see it. I can't see these things. I've heard one way they're able to stay invisible is by timing their movement to your eye, because the eye only detects motion. So if they move the same speed as your eye does, you can't see them. I don't know if that's the case or not. I think it's more just because it's an interdimensional type thing. It's just an ability they have to be invisible using that dimension. I think it's the fourth they use visually, and the fifth is how they take you and bring you back, and that's why there's missing time. But yeah, he just sat there and he sniffed them, then he kind of stepped back and he looked at it, and then he sniffed again. So I think he can smell them. He might be able to see them or feel them, but he can tell they're there somehow. And after that point, he kind of walked up next to my side, and he sniffed right next to me, probably about 3 feet away. There was obviously something else there. And he sniffed it kind of the same way, and then he came and sat right by my feet, because he's very protective. And yeah, that's basically what happened. But the poor dog, he's relling aliens, or smelling aliens is the dog translation there, all the time. Poor guy. He's a great dog, but the dog's tormented by aliens, and so it's kind of funny. But anytime they're around, he is always kind of on edge. And gosh, what movie was it my kid had in the other day? It wasn't District 9. I got District 9. What a crappy movie that was, by the way. What a horrible movie. Don't get that if you're interested in this. I should have known better. Well, it was some movie about aliens, and there was some sort of chirping noise that they made on the movie that apparently was very accurate, because the dog freaked out when he heard that noise. He started running back and forth across the room and barking when the movie made that. And gosh, I wish I could remember what movie it was he was watching. It'll come back to me, and I'll mention it next show if I can remember to, which I almost certainly won't, but how frustrating. But anyway, yeah, that's the dog for you, and there's lots of great dog stories, so we'll have to figure out a name for him. I'll leave him anonymous, too. I'm not even saying his real name. It's, I guess, just my thing. We'll call him AlienPhotog Dog. That'll work, right? So AlienPhotog Dog,